This is CBN NewsWatch.
And thank you so much for joining us for this edition of CBN NewsWatch. It is Friday, November 1st. I'm Ephraim Graham. We begin this half hour with President Donald Trump's faith leaders' response to House formalizing its impeachment probe against President Trump. 2 Democrats joined every Republican to vote against the measure, which sets up rules for the next phase of the process, public hearings. The vote set up a fight on the floor. Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi said she's defending democracy, while Republicans call the rules for impeachment Soviet style. The vote came just after the president met with his Evangelical Advisory Board at the White House.
We basically told him, Mr. President, you fight well alone, but you're not going to have to fight well alone, because we're going to be standing right there with you every step of the way, because we don't actually believe this is about President Trump at all. This is about his agenda. And so I remember distinctly several of the leaders in the room saying, listen, you're actually impeaching us. That's what you're doing, Democratic leadership in the House.
Senior Washington correspondent Jennifer Wishon joins us now from Washington. So, Jennifer, those are strong words from Johnny Moore. What else did he say about his meeting with the president?
Well, Ephraim, it's pretty remarkable. Johnny was saying that really in the first year and a half of this president's term, this Evangelical Advisory Board kind of got everything checked off their list. He has performed for them. He has done everything that he said he was going to do. He said there's a few things that they would like to get done still, but they're very happy. And so Johnny Moore went on to say that the advisory board believes that this is not about anything the president's call with the Ukrainian president. They believe that this is about this president's agenda, as you said, and they believe that if House Democrats impeach the president, they're impeaching this agenda. And Moore went on to say that, they really want to undo 2016. And if they can't, they don't want Donald Trump at the top of the ballot, because they realize that if he is at the top of the ballot, then they have a real problem. So very strong words from Johnny Moore. And it sounds like his Evangelical Advisory Board is strongly behind him here, Ephraim.
It does sound like that indeed. So tell us more about the impeachment rules that Democrats approved yesterday.
Yes. So what they've approved is that, these closed-door testimonies that have been going on for several weeks now, shortly, perhaps as early as next week, we're going to see the House Intelligence Committee release transcripts of those depositions, along with a report that the committee is going to put together. Also, in the rules, Republicans will be allowed to subpoena their own witnesses in this public impeachment hearing. However, the entire panel will have to approve these subpoenas. So Democrats will actually have a veto over whether or not Republicans can subpoena certain witnesses.
Real quick, when can we expect these hearings to begin?
Well, we can expect them later this month, Ephraim. Democrats have said that they wanted to get these hearings underway before Thanksgiving, and they are proceeding in that manner. So that is very ambitious, but it looks like that's what they're pushing for. So this is going to be some must-see TV setting up before Thanksgiving. Certainly there's going to be plenty to talk about with our families around the Thanksgiving table after these hearings get started.
Indeed, indeed. Jennifer Wishon reporting from our Washington bureau. Jennifer, thank you.
Thank you.
Russian troops are now seen patrolling the streets of some cities in northern Syria. But while the U.S. has pulled back from the region, some American aid workers have gone in to help with the crisis. Our Chuck Holton is on this story.
While the American withdrawal led to greater Russian and Turkish influence in Syria, aid workers on the ground say there is no ceasefire. Retired Marine Captain Brandon Wheeler has spent years getting to know the players in this region. He says the U.S. gave up a huge opportunity in northern Syria.
The fascism of Islamic fascism and the totalitarianism of Russia and Assad, those things are not going to be better ideas to freedom and self-government. It just won't work. So if you had played it out, and if we had done what we did post-World War II and built this place up, everybody in the area would want to be here. It'd be the most prosperous, successful place in the whole region. All of that may be lost.
Now the other players are rushing in to fill the power vacuum left by the U.S. exit.
What I can tell you for sure is whether it's Putin or Assad or the Salafi Islamists or Turkey, The one thing they can all agree on is that self-governance, individual freedom is a threat to all of them. So they will exterminate this project at all costs.
Dave Eubank has been leading a small team of medics in northern Syria since mid-October, and he believes the U.S. still has a role to play.
This was an emergent, small democracy of a mixed ethnic religious group that got along with each other. But they needed us in the middle to help hold that together and to keep ISIS down. These people fought and defeated ISIS here, but to keep them from rising again, the U.S. needs to stay. Also, to stop Assad and his dictatorship to taking over this whole country.
Despite the supposed ceasefire, Turkish-backed forces are still killing Kurds in this area.
Imagine what it would be like if every time you heard an airplane go overhead, you had to worry about your car or your house vaporizing. That's what the people here in northern Syria are worried about now because of the ever-present threat of Turkish drones flying overhead. And it's changing the way they live. So, for example, we park our car underneath the trees if we need to because we try not to be too visible from the air.
This Kurdish soldier says he hopes the world will understand that they're fighting not just for themselves.
We could die at any time here from airstrike, from a drone, from artillery. But the most important thing for us is that the world sees that we are standing up against this tyranny from Erdogan.
For these men, the U.S. involvement here is important not just for the Kurds, but for America as well.
The U.S. cannot solve the problems of Syria or anywhere else, but right here, we create a space where the Kurds and the Arabs, the Christians and the Yazidis and others can work something out, and they were. There's no guarantee it'll work, but guaranteed it will fail if you leave.
A threat to freedom anywhere is a threat to freedom everywhere. And if you can't secure freedom here, you will be sure that people who want to kill Americans, who have killed Americans, will come here in order to man, train, equip, and prepare for the next war, because they are committed.
From northern Syria, I'm Chuck Holton for CBN News.
Well, there's a ceasefire in theory in northeast Syria. As Chuck Holton reported, on the ground, fighting continues. And as Chris Mitchell now reports, many Christians are caught in the crossfire and paying the price.
These jihadist troops fighting for Turkey just captured the Syrian town of Ras Ain that had a large Christian population. Bassam Ishaq is the U.S. representative of the Syrian Democratic Council that represents a new democratic government in northeast Syria that speaks for all the peoples and minorities in that region. He told CBN's Faith Nation the jihadists stole the Christians' land.
They were told by the pro-Turkey rebels that they have orders not to kill the Christians, but you have no land here anymore. So they're not able to go and collect their harvest. And what this amounts to is really soft ethnic cleansing. Because if you lose your source of income, you lose your land, you leave. And so this is what the pro-Turkey jihadis are doing.
Those same jihadist forces are now on their way to the next town with a large Christian population, Tel Tamer.
We have, similar to ISIS, the same mindset as ISIS, those pro-Turkey jihadis who are coming in now threatening their town. We need the U.S. to step in.
On Tuesday, the U.S. House of Representatives voted overwhelmingly to sanction Turkey and sent the resolution to the Senate. Senator Lindsey Graham told CBN News they need to stop Turkish President Recep Erdogan.
I think these sanctions are necessary to make sure that Turkey does not ethnically cleanse Syria of Kurds. This is their ancestral home. They've been great allies to our brothers and sisters in the Christian faith. They helped us defeat ISIS, and we cannot sit on the sidelines and watch Turkey ethnically cleanse part of Syria from Kurds.
And our Middle East Bureau Chief, Chris Mitchell, joins us now from Jerusalem to get more on this story. So, Chris, tell us about the Christians there in Tel Tamer and that area. Who are they and what are they facing?
Well, Ephraim, I think there's a bit of a misconception when people talk about this area. They always talk about the Kurds. Well, actually, the Kurds are a minority in northeast Syria, and all along the border, you have ancient Christians, Assyrian Christians, Syriac Christians who've been there literally for almost 2,000 years. So that's who they are, and who they're facing. As I said in the story, this is like ISIS 2.0, and they're facing ethnic cleansing. Now, you can imagine if you're a pastor or just a congregant listening at your church, Spokane, Washington, Birmingham, Alabama, what would you do if there was an army on the way that was going to tell you, well, you can stay, but all your land is gone. That's exactly what these Christians are facing in Tel Tamir, Ras Ain, all these cities that are really being invaded, attacked by the Syrian Free Army, these jihadists.
So exactly what can be done to protect them?
Well, the first thing, Ephraim, I'm sure people can pray. They can pray for God to protect them physically as they face this onslaught. The other thing they could do, they're asking for a no-fly zone enforced by the United States. The Syrian Democratic Forces really can face this jihadist army on the ground, but what they can't do is face these drone attacks, these airstrikes. That really tips the balance away from them and in favor of these jihadists. So that's what they were looking for. And they're also looking for the U.S. to really just tell Turkey, stop, you can't come any further.
Was a Democratic government there before the invasion? And if so, what has happened to it?
Well, right now it looks like its future is very shaky, very uncertain. It was a Democratic government, just like that captain, the Marine captain Brandon Wheeler talked about. It was really a breath of fresh air there in the heart of the Middle East, and right now it's in danger of being quenched by the Syrian army as it comes in to back up the Syrian Free Army. So what they need right now is just the United States to come in. The House of Representatives voted against the Armenian genocide to recognize it. Many are saying there's a genocide going on right now. We need to speak up and stop it.
So let's look ahead to Jerusalem Dateline. What can we see this evening?
Well, we're going to have updates on the situation in Syria. We have an in-depth interview about who are the people there on the front lines, who are these Christians. We have a story about Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu, who's warning, don't forget the #1 sponsor of terrorism in the world, which is Iran. And we also have a very redeeming story about Daniel. A South African company has come in and has a musical on the biblical character Daniel. It's very inspiring, and that's all part of this week's Jerusalem Dateline.
Looking forward to that. Thank you so much, Chris. And of course, you can see Jerusalem Dateline tonight on the CBN News Channel. It begins at 9:30 Eastern Standard Time. A Christian politician from Finland is being interrogated at police headquarters in Helsinki today in a hate speech investigation for sharing a Bible passage on social media. Pave Rasanen is a member of the Finnish parliament, and she is under investigation for committing a so-called hate crime after she posted a Bible verse aimed at Finland's state church for promoting the homosexual lifestyle.
In my tweet, I directly cited Romans 1st chapter and verses 24 to 27 and posted a picture.
Now, if the investigation leads to a trial and conviction, she could face a fine or even jail time. Legal experts say if that happens, it could set a precedent affecting every believer in Finland. More fires in Southern California forced more evacuations overnight. In some areas, residents raced to save their animals. In Riverside County, embers rained down on horses terrified by the fires. Others raced to save almost 100 dogs and cats. Shifting winds hurled debris in different directions. Firefighters are also working on just a few hours' sleep as they try to contain those fires. Coming up, they left the homosexual lifestyle, and now they have a message for our nation and our leaders. Stay with us.
Come home to the sounds of Southern Gospel from CBN Radio. You'll enjoy a rich Southern blend of bluegrass, classic gospel, and Southern gospel favorites like the Gaithers, the Crab Family, and bluegrass sounds like Mountain Faith. So make yourself at home with the all-new CBN Southern Gospel, now available at cbnradio.com.
Meet the pastors who are preaching the gospel in a fresh, fearless way. I'm Roberto Torres-Cedillo. Join me each week for Next Gen Voices. And watch God transform a generation.
prophecy thousands of years old.
We were called to be a light to the world.
Being fulfilled today. Discover how. Get to life. Call 1-800-700-7000.
We consider it our duty to reach out and help others around the world.
For a gift of $10 or more, you can own the acclaimed CBN documentary To Life. Just call 1-800-700-7000 or log on to cbn.com.
To treat a human, no matter what he is, which religious he have, which color he is. This is what I'm doing.
See how the people of Israel are fulfilling prophecy.
History is being written, and I want to be a part of it.
By sharing their knowledge.
In Africa, in Asia, in South America, in East Europe.
And their love.
This is how we work. This is us.
Get to life. Call 1-800-700-7000 or log on to cbn.com.
Political correctness insists gay people are born that way and it's impossible to change. But as Paul Strand reports, a group came to Capitol Hill to say that's not true, and they did it with a warning.
These days, when there's so much talk about gay rights and transgender rights and laws being passed to protect those rights, a whole other minority is getting ignored. Those who've come out of the gay community.
18 former gays, lesbians, and transgenders stood before the U.S. Capitol to proclaim they're real, despite a culture that denies such transformation is possible.
We've experienced a change in our sexual orientation. Some small, some great. I mean, some of us don't experience same-sex attraction anymore. And yet, everywhere you go, you hear that's utterly impossible.
Not for this former homosexual, now father of 4.
I don't ever get sexually aroused by looking at a man. That hasn't happened in years.
But House Bill 3570 says therapy similar to what helped Ken Williams, and many of these leave the lifestyle, can't do that. It proclaims there is no evidence that conversion therapy is effective, or that an individual's sexual orientation or gender identity can be changed by conversion therapy. Williams worries such a bill would forbid the counseling he insists saved his life by calling all of it conversion therapy.
At 17 years old, I was suicidal. I started seeing a Christian counselor who I saw weekly for 5 years. And it changed my, that was the last day I felt suicidal.
Pastor Jim Doman says similar counseling helped him go from gay guy to heterosexual husband and dad. But H.R. 3570 brands such therapy toxic, saying it is substantially dangerous to an individual's mental and physical health. Doman, of course, disagrees.
These bills would not only prohibit it, it's almost like we'd have to go underground to seek help. And it breaks my heart when you hear the stories of people who've been sexually abused, people who are suicidal, people going through depression and seeking help, or they want to go in a different direction. That would not be, would be very, very difficult, if not impossible to do.
Many here are Christians who also give God the credit for their radical change. Elizabeth Woning brought a warning for a culture that would reject that power and instead embrace what the Bible says is toxic.
We are denying our own biology. We are hating ourselves. We have higher rates of mental illness and suicide. The farther Christianity gets out of the mainstream, the more broken we're becoming in America.
These folks are saying while laws are being passed to protect people like those in the gay and transgender communities, other people who want to swim against the cultural mainstream will be hurt by those very laws. Paul Strand, CBN News, reporting from Capitol Hill.
Still ahead, we're talking sports with Sean Brown. The big World Series championship for the Washington Nationals is the big story of the week. We're going to have more and that, of course, as well. Stay with us.
Too often, we carry baggage from our past. You know what it's like. It affects everything and everyone in our lives. It's always there, weighing us down and keeping us from achieving true happiness. But do you know God never meant for us to be trapped in the past? You can be free of your baggage. Learn how God's forgiveness leads to changed lives and new beginnings. Call the 700 Club.
I'm Ephraim Graham, and this is Studio 5. Cruise with me as I discover the good things happening in the world of music, sports, television, and movies.
The fact that Ryan Coogler was going to be directing the film, I knew that something special was going to happen.
We'll chat with artists at the forefront of entertainment and explore the connection between popular culture and faith.
I asked my pastor, I said, well, does that mean I'm supposed to be a preacher? He says, well, no, you already have a pulpit.
Watch Studio 5, Wednesday night at 9:30.
Tikkun Olam.
This is our nature as a country.
to make the world a better place.
Literally, we felt the earth shaking.
The Christian Broadcasting Network presents To Life, how Israeli volunteers are changing the world.
This film needs to be seen by everyone.
I was in tears.
Now you can own the inspiring documentary To Life on DVD.
There is blood on our hands if we know and we walk away.
I'm so grateful that this film was made.
To Life can be yours for a gift of $10 or more. Call 1-800-700-7000 or log on to CBN.com.
We know that every minute counts to save life.
It'll bless Israel, but it'll also bless all the friends of Israel.
Discover the untold story of how Israeli volunteers are making the world a better place. Call 1-800-700-7000 or log on to CBN.com to get your copy today.
And CBN Sports reporter Sean Brown is here to talk about all that's going on in the world of sports. Always good to see you. And, of course, the big story of the week is the World Series, the Washington Nationals taking it Wednesday in Game 7.
In Game 7. Remember we talked about the idea that we didn't think that the Washington Nationals were going to make it.
Yes.
I didn't think they were going to get past. I didn't think they were going to make it this far.
No.
They got past L.A.
Yes.
They get past, St. Louis. They make it to the World Series, and we're like, okay, the Astros are just gonna, they're gonna sweep them.
Yes.
It didn't happen.
No.
They dug deep. I mean, they showed up. It went the distance, and it was just fantastic. I mean, they played phenomenal considering who they played. They played tough teams. They weren't a joke. They weren't playing around.
No.
Being at home, losing 3 games at home.
I really thought it was.
What was interesting about the what was interesting about the series is that neither team won a game at home.
I know.
so for them to be able to dig themselves out of that hole, losing so much, regain momentum and win 2 games in Houston was just fantastic.
Indeed,
fantastic.
Indeed. I imagine some big celebrations are coming up. I know DC knows how to do
it. They're going to go nuts. First time in franchise history. Now they've celebrated before with the Washington Senators years ago. I'm talking, this is years ago, but. It's just winning is in D.C. right now. D.C.'s hot. D.C.'s hot. Now I don't know about the Redskins and the Wizards, but for the other sports teams, winning is back in D.C. and it's good to see.
All right, let's hope it spreads a little bit. Give those Redskin fans something to cheer about.
Stop it.
Obviously, I'm not a Redskins fan. Tell us about the NCAA's decision to pay their college players for their labor.
Okay, so. Yes, thank you, guys.
Yes.
Well done. Basically, there's 3 stipulations. I mean, this is a great place to start. There's 3 divisions: Division 1, 2, and 3. The rules right now are that each division must craft their own rules. As long as they comply with NCAA rules, they comply their own rules and say, hey, this is how you can be paid, whether it's through sponsorship, just because of your name or your likeness, your face. College players can now. Make money and make deals based off of that. As long as it does not, the other stipulation is there must be a clear distinction between a college athlete and a pro athlete. So as they're being paid, there must be a clear distinction between the 2.
Excellent.
And then the other would be, they must be treated like students, not employees. Okay. And so if they meet those demands, then, we can move forward. It's a great place to start. So big up to the NCAA for passing that law. Excellent.
Because these schools are making lots of money.
Lots of money.
On these young people.
Lots of money.
So you've got an update on the Man of God headband for us.
You know what? I do. I brought it. I actually have one.
Oh, I need one.
I have one. I did not bring it with me, but I do have one. And it is fantastic. It is a fantastic headband. I was going to say that they have raised over $120,000, but they raised a little bit more because they're fantastic. They are absolutely fantastic, and I'm just so proud of what DeMario is doing with that. It's just fantastic.
Indeed. Let's keep that going. Now, finally, before we let you go, what's ahead this weekend on Going the Distance?
We've got a story with Carson Wentz.
Oh, nice.
We've got one of the Astros pitchers. I got a chance to catch up with him before the World Series, talking about, hey, don't get caught up in wins and losses because you never know which way it's going to go. You need a little bit more foundation. And then we've got another powerful story with a guy named Sean Clayton. So be sure to tune in for that.
That's right. You can catch Going the Distance with Sean Brown this weekend on the CBN News Channel. You can catch it on Saturdays at 6:30 and Sunday at 7:30. And both of those are Eastern Standard Time. Great to have you. Coming up, actor and comedian Kevin Hart talks about his devastating car accident and how God has used this in his life. Stay with us.
Superbook episodes that you can watch for free. Oh, no! There's trivia, a fun daily devotional, and answers to your Bible questions. Plus, an easy-to-understand Bible the whole family will enjoy. You can even create your own Superbook character. Ta-da! It's the new Superbook Bible app. Free downloads on iTunes, Google Play, and Amazon.
From Washington, D.C., uncompromising stories, interviews, and analysis from veteran journalists David Brody.
Escalating fight.
Jenna Browder.
Chose his words carefully.
Ben Kennedy.
Plan to join him.
And Amber Strong.
For impeachment grows a little bit louder.
Bringing you the political news that matters.
We get out and tell the story of the progress that we're making in this country.
Watch Faith Nation, weeknights at 6 on the CBN News Channel.
We will move the American embassy to the eternal capital of the Jewish people, Jerusalem.
As the nations rage, you can stand with Israel.
History is being written, and I want to be a part of it.
Call 1-800-700-7000 and get to life.
This is our nature as a country.
Discover the untold story of how Israeli volunteers are changing the world.
We consider it our duty to reach out and help others around the world.
For a gift of $10 or more, you can own the acclaimed CBN documentary To Life.
To treat a human, no matter what he is, which religious he has, which color he is. This is what I'm doing.
Support Israel in their time of need. Get to Life, now available on DVD. Call 1-800-700-7000 or log on to cbn.com.
And I wish that other people throughout the world could see this side of Israel.
And welcome back. After surviving a devastating car accident in early September, actor and comedian Kevin Hart is praising God for his sovereignty and for saving his life. In an emotional video shared on Instagram, the father of three spoke out for the first time since that crash that happened on September 1st, saying that he learned, although you may think you're in control of your life, you're not, and that God used the accident to send him an important message.
You know, when God talks, you gotta listen. And I swear life is funny, because some of the craziest things that happen to you end up being the things that you needed most. And in this case, I honestly feel like God basically told me to sit down.
God told him to sit down, and you can find the full story on our website at cbnnews.com. And time for your Friday Faithful is indeed appropriate as we wrap yet another work week. I leave you with this thought. God is calling you to rest just as loudly as he's calling you to work. In your rest, he is at work, restoring you, refreshing you, and renewing you. With that word, make time to rest this weekend and allow God to do his perfect work. That will do it for this edition of CBN NewsWatch. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you right back here, same time Monday. Goodbye, everybody, and God bless.